Dr. Sunil Gupta, are you here with us?
Yes.
Great. So before Dr. Sunil Gupta takes over, let me give you an introduction of who this wonderful gentleman is. Dr. Sunil Gupta is a consultant hematologist, haemato-oncologist, based at Lewisham and Greenwich National Health Service Trust in South London. He trained with a few best institutes in the world, namely King's College Hospital, London, Royal North Shore Hospital in Sydney, Australia, the National University Hospital in Singapore, and All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. Dr. Gupta is currently leading the clinical research division in hematology in his trust and has been principal investigator of the 10 national and commercial clinical trials. Dr. Gupta is trained and a certified yoga teacher also by the Patanjali YogaPeeth. Dr. Gupta founded a yoga center called Healthy Living Yogashram in 2017 and runs weekly yoga classes in the Bromley area of South London. Dr. Gupta is associated with Jan Swasthay Sehyog, JSS, a low-cost health service running in Bilaspur in Chattisgarh. He regularly helps the organization academically and financially. Dr. Gupta was invited to deliver a lecture in the Parliament on the topic of the scarcity of stem cells donors amongst the BAME group in 2018. We have an academic personality with us. Ladies and gentlemen, give a huge round of applause to welcome Dr. Sunil Gupta. Dr. Gupta, a global namaste to you and a welcome on the platform of Healing Our Earth.
Well, thank you very much, and a global namaste to everyone, whichever part of the world you are listening to this beautiful program and channel which has been running for so long. So my global namaste, good morning, suprabhat, good afternoon, or good evening, or might be bedtime, wherever you are in the whole world. And thank you very much to Dr. Lodha for giving quite an elaborate introduction. Apart from myself being a medical doctor, I have got strong interest in naturopathy, where we can actually heal ourselves through the natural ways, through the proper diet, through exercise, through yoga, through meditation. And that's the reason I have started this yoga school after having been trained by Baba Ramdev's organization. So I will be talking about the COVID and its impact on our immunity, and also the impact of our immunity on COVID as well, as to how we can ward off the possibility of catching this nasty infection by boosting our immunity. So I have got about 20 minutes to talk about the immunity and how to boost our immunity, and I'll also talk about the effect of COVID on the BAME group, which basically are the Black and ethnic minority. That means South Asian, Asians, and Afro-Caribbean people, in whom the COVID has really created a major havoc. So let's talk about what immunity is comprised of. What do you mean by immunity? So immunity, of course, is our inherent capability of human beings to ward off any infection, be it bacterial or a viral infection. So I'll just basically give you a very quick a synopsis or introduction about immunity to those people who are not very scientific or who may not know what immunity is made up of. So there are two main kind of immunity process we have in our body. The first one is called innate immunity, and the other one is called adaptive immunity. So we have got our blood cells, main blood cell, which is called neutrophil. They are the phagocytic cells, so they tend to eat away the bacteria mainly. So they are the first line of defense. So whenever there is an attack from a bacteria in our system, these these cells, neutrophils, they actually gobble away these bacteria. And once that happens, then the second line of defense comes in, which is made up of mainly the lymphocyte. And that immunity is a very specific immunity towards that bacteria or virus. And what these B cells tend to do, they tend to form antibodies so that there is a memory amongst our immunity generating cells that whenever this infection happens again, the antibody surge can happen and the infection can be eradicated from our system quickly. Apart from these two main cells, we have got other cells like macrophages, then we have got things like cytokines, which are the chemicals secreted by these cells, and they also tend to increase our immunity in a different way. So, of course, when this infection happens, as you can imagine, whenever there is a war, there is also a collateral damage in a war zone. And in a similar fashion, we have got collateral damage because of this war between our immunity and the antigens or the bacteria or the viruses. And this collateral damage is called as inflammation. Now, how we actually regulate this inflammation is also a part of the immunity. It is a part of our system. A few people may have overdrive of this inflammation, thereby causing this cytokine storm you might have heard about. And the cytokine storm has been the major problem in COVID patients in whom there is a multi-organ damage, and those patients unfortunately then passed away. So the inflammatory process has to end at some point, not to go into any kind of overdrive. I would like to clarify a few things here about this antibody formation after COVID. So till now, we have not got any proof that those patients or those people who have had infection by COVID and those who have generated antibodies, whether these antibodies are actually protective or not. Majority of the time, the antibody formation against the viruses is actually a lifelong immunity or a long-term immunity. But unfortunately, against this novel COVID virus or the coronavirus, we have not proved that antibody formation is a long-term immunity. So we need to bear in this mind. If you have developed an antibody, doesn't mean that you are immune to it for a long time. We don't know for how long people will be immune against the coronavirus. Those people who have got milder symptoms, they generated a lesser response in antibodies, and those people who have got aggressive symptoms, they of course mounted a far more increased antibody formation. Now let's talk about how to actually increase our immunity in a natural way. So I would like to touch upon a gas, a gas in our system, which is formed by various metabolic processes, and this is called nitric oxide. And not many people know about this gas, nitric oxide. It has got far-reaching benefits in our system to boost our immunity and also to reduce blood pressure, because nitric oxide is actually a gas which is antiviral and also a vasodilatory gas. So that means it actually dilates the blood vessels, and the blood vessels, when the blood vessels are dilated, the gas exchange happens better, the oxygen is delivered to the cells better, and also the blood pressure goes down, and we have got a better cardiovascular health. So this nitric oxide is produced or generated mainly in the nose and in the paranasal sinuses. So we have got paranasal sinuses in our bones, in the frontal bone and in the cheekbones. These are the tiny pockets of air sacs where this air, carbon dioxide and oxygen mix, and that produces the nitric oxide. And this nitric oxide is then inhaled into the lungs to cause antiviral effect. So we need to make sure that we are constantly generating nitric oxide in our paranasal sinuses, and that nitric oxide is then inhaled into the lungs and then circulated into the system as well. So one very important way of producing nitric oxide is actually by doing predominantly nasal breathing. So those people who are inadvertently or unknowingly doing mouth breathing must make sure that they are doing nasal breathing. They should actually close their mouth during their, of course, when they're talking. You don't know how much air they are actually taking in, but when they are silent, when they're not talking, the mouth should remain closed, and we should do predominantly nasal breathing. And the breathing should be slow, deep, and long, right? Ideally, we should be taking about, normal breath rate is about 15 to 18 breaths per minute. But if you try to breathe slowly and deeply and a longer duration, it is better. So try to breathe as frequent as possible in a minute. The other ways of increasing nitric oxide production are various breathing techniques. And in yoga, we have got in pranayama, we are very fortunate that we know various ways of increasing the nitric oxide through the pranayama. And I'll tell you a few important pranayama exercises like Bromley, which is a bumblebee breathing, in which we actually close the sinuses, the top sinus, the cheekbone sinus, and also we close our ear and create a bumblebee or a humming sound. When we create this humming sound and very, very slowly breathe in and breathe out, we create a lot of nitric oxide, and that nitric oxide then we inhale into the lung and cause antiviral effect. And you can imagine if you have got a lung full of antiviral gas, it will kill the viruses. Other breathing is Anulom Vilom, which is like alternate breathing. And this breathing also, we should try to go as slow, as deep as possible. And one of the modification of Anulom Vilom is actually we can obstruct the nose slightly. So when we breathe in or breathe out, we can create some obstruction by pinching the nose here, not blocking the nose completely, just pinching the nose when we breathe in, and we breathe out through our thumb or through the ring finger. So Anulom Vilom by pinching or obstructing the nose is a very fantastic way of increasing the production of nitric oxide. Then we have got Ujjayi, which is the hiccup breathing, like that breathing, that also increases nitric oxide. Then we also make sure that our lung health is good. So lungs are fully expanded. There is no portion of lung which is going into any kind of atelectasis or compression or an area where oxygen is not reaching or the nitric oxide is not reaching. So every now and then, please take deep breaths, making sure that the chest is absolutely fully expanded. That is very important. So in Bromley, we expand our, sorry, not in Bromley, the Bhastrika, when we do the rapid breathing or deep breathing, we actually expand all parts of the lungs. We open all parts of our alveoli. So that is important. People who have major problems with COVID going onto the ventilators are the ones who were not having good lung health. That means they had chronic respiratory problems like pulmonary fibrosis, emphysema, bronchiectasis, asthma. It has been consistently seen, and these are the people who got affected the most. So please make sure that your lung health is good by regularly taking deep breaths. Then also talk about the making sure that the back portion of your lung is actually expanded by doing some exercises like Paschimottanasana, which is like a forward bend. So you basically bend forward and touch your toes. By doing that, the back portion of the lung, the posterior part of the lung, is actually expanded and it becomes slightly anterior. And that's the portion of the lung which gets affected, which actually gets a lot of infection in the COVID patients. And those patients actually ran into trouble with ventilator, etc. So I have talked about increasing nitric oxide production. I have talked about how to expand your lung and how to get your respiratory function healthy. One other thing is that breath hold. So breath hold is also called as Kumbhaka. It is it's a yogic name called Kumbhaka, where we actually breath hold either after taking a long deep breath or after breathing out. So there is an internal kumbhaka or an external kumbhaka. What actually kumbhaka does, when we hold our breath for about 10 to 15 seconds, we increase the carbon dioxide in our system. And we know there is a Bohr effect. There is an acid-base dissociation curve of the oxygen. So when there is a slight increase in the pH, the oxygen is actually dissociated from the hemoglobin and delivered to the cells in a better way. So the delivery of oxygen to the cells is better if we have got slight increase in the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is not the evil gas as we might think. So carbon dioxide is important in our respiratory system. Then let's talk about what food we can eat to increase the nitric oxide formation. So there are nitrates. There are many foods which actually contain a lot of nitrates, and majority of them are things like spinach. We have got things like avocados, things like berries, and cabbage and celery and cress. These are the various foods by which we can actually increase the nitric oxide ingestion. That means intake of nitric oxide is increased, and thereby so nitrates will be converted into nitric oxide. One other thing these food contain is vitamin C. Vitamin C on its own is a fantastic antioxidant. It's a anti-inflammatory food, and also it helps in the absorption and conversion of the nitrates into the nitric oxide. So, you know, other food which can also increase nitrate or nitric oxide formation are the nuts, olives, various other vegetables and fruits. One other thing which I like to talk about is glutathione. So glutathione is the mother of all antioxidants, and glutathione is produced in our system by physiological fashion, but at the same time we can increase the ingestion of glutathione by eating the glutathione rich food. And you'll be surprised to hear that one of the commonly eaten Indian vegetable, okra, which is bhindi or ladyfinger, is full of glutathione. And glutathione mops up all these free radicals, free oxygen radicals, which are injurious to our health and injurious to our cells. So please increase things like okra and other food, which you can also read about various glutathione-rich food. Of course, we don't have time to talk about each and every food. What I tend to do to increase my antioxidant activity and intake, the first thing in the morning, I drink a concoction of apple cider vinegar, 1 spoon, and a ½ liter of warm or lukewarm water, and then I add 1 spoon of manuka honey, 10 fenugreek seeds or methi seeds, and half a lime, half a portion of lime. If you want, you can actually put full lime, and also I put turmeric or haldi. This is the concoction I actually drink on a daily basis, first thing in the morning and also last thing in the night. That will also ensure that whatever viruses you have actually caught during the course of the day has been taken off, has been scraped off from the upper respiratory and the upper digestive tract, and that has been sent down into the gastric juices to be destroyed away. So this is 1 cup of ½ a liter is your antioxidant quota is nearly finished, right? So if you can actually follow this concoction drink, it will be fantastic. I will also talk about, I also teach in my yoga classes, and as to my patients also, we have got 5 or maybe 6 natural doctors. And what are these natural doctors which are there free of cost available to everybody? And what are these natural doctors? First of all, hydration. So those people who are well hydrated, they remain more strong, robust in their immunity. So at least 2 liters of water every day, which is about 6 to 8 glasses of water, right? Sleep comes, well, that is a natural phenomenon, it comes free. So make sure that you have got 8 hours of sleep every night, uninterrupted. Quality and quantity of the sleep are both important. So that is also an important immunity boosting physiological exercise which we must do. 10 o'clock, make a sleep hygiene. 10 o'clock, everything is switched off. I'm going to go to bed, complete darkness, no screen, nothing at all. Half an hour, 1 hour before, you do a meditation, completely off your work, completely off any kind of discussions, and a good night's sleep. Very, very important. Then come the laughter. People tend to forget how to laugh in these days in the stressful time. But if you do artificial laughter or natural laughter, engage yourself into social activity and try to laugh as much as possible, as often as possible, it is a natural doctor, believe me. The fourth one is sunlight. Of course, sunlight is quite variable depending on which part of the world you're living. In the UK, we have got hit and miss of the sunlight, but sunlight is a natural doctor. And last one is the sattvic food. When we say sattvic food, that means food which is full of fruits and vegetables. It's a simple food, not too spicy, not oily. Sattvic food has to be there in your diet. Yeah. So if I give my example, I miss one meal and replace that meal with just raw fruits and vegetables. So my lunch is only either lettuce, raw beetroot, raw broccoli, raw cauliflower, raw cucumber, or tomatoes. I include at least 5 to 10 fruits and vegetables in my diet every day without fail, right? And that is not something which is difficult to do, right? You can make sure that I'm not going to eat any grains or rice or chapati or cooked vegetable. I'm just going to eat raw vegetables and fruits at least one meal. That will increase your antioxidant quantity. It will increase your immune boosting food, etc. And also it will reduce your weight. Now, last but not the least, I would like to touch upon why the COVID was more problematic in the BAME group. Now, we all know that we people have got high propensity of diabetes, we have got high propensity of hypertension, we have got high propensity of heart disease. Why that is so? First thing is that we are genetically predisposed to have less fat burning in our system. So our metabolism is like that we have got more, less, we tend to burn our fat far less as to the Caucasians. The other thing, of course, is that we have a slightly sedentary lifestyle, but of course that doesn't apply to everybody. But majority of Asian people are actually slightly sedentary in their lifestyle. We have a rich diet, we like to party a lot, etc. But as I said, that we can change our lifestyle, we can change the environmental factor to make sure that we have got less hypertension, we have got less diabetes, we don't take sugar, and also make sure that we do not take the saturated fat. I have also followed a Formula of 5, and I always profess about Formula of 5 everywhere I go and deliver a lecture. The Formula of 5 is also an NHS formula that you should follow 5 things. 5 days of 30-minute exercise. You must do exercise 5 days for 30 minutes in a week. Then you should not eat more than 5 grams of salt and 5 grams of refined sugar. No more than 5 grams of sugar, no more than 5 grams of salt. Then we must eat 5 fruits, and now I have included 5 fruits and 5 vegetables, right? So 10 fruits and vegetables in a day without fail. And also make sure that you take polyphenols. Polyphenols are there in vegetables and in fruits. So polyphenol should be increased in your diet. And the saturated fats are reduced in your diet, right? Red meat, etc., should be as least as possible in your diet. These are the various ways by which we can actually make sure that the COVID doesn't impact on us, because we are very much robust. We are very much ready to fight and ward off the infection. So I hope that my tips and explanations have been useful, and you were able to understand them as simply as I could actually explain. And if you can follow all these very simple, maybe slightly difficult for a few people, but I think they're not very difficult, and you can easily follow in your lifestyle to make sure that you are healthy, you have got better immunity, and you're warding off the infection. Thank you very much for your patient listening. And I'm happy to take questions. My mobile number or my email can be distributed. I'm quite happy to give free advice on any topic you might think of. And thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil Gupta. That's very generous of you to be giving out your number and your email to give out free information, which is great. And in the COVID climate, I think that's what people are looking for, is trying to get some good information, some solid information, which people can then utilize it for themselves. So thank you very much for that. Just a quick question to you. The question in the chat box that has come up is a methi, which you mentioned, the fenugreek seeds. Is it morning tonic, dry or fresh? So is it something that you would take dry, or would you then put it in the concoction that you have?
I put into my concoction actually, but many people have been doing it like they soak the methi seeds overnight and then drink the water of it. But unfortunately, I sometimes forget to actually soak them in the night. So what I do actually, when I make my concoction, I actually put it and let it be there for 5-10 minutes. And I also eat the methi seeds. I don't not only drink the water, but I also eat the methi seeds. I don't think the methi seeds are very palatable. They are slightly bitter. So if you eat dry, it might be slightly bitter taste. So I'll soak them either overnight or maybe 10 minutes should be good enough. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope the chat box question then gets the answer. I had a question. You really nicely described the Formula 5. Now, I was trying to jot them down, and I think I got up to 3, and then I lost the 4th and the 5th one. You said 5 days of 30-minute exercises. So every day exercises for 30 minutes, 5 days. Then you said 5 grams of salt, 5 grams of refined sugar.
So that makes 3.
That makes 3. Okay. That's where I got my 5 then. And then you started with 5 fruits and then 5 vegetables.
Yes, and the 5th formula is try to reduce the intake of the saturated fat. So red meat, you should not try to eat red meat or saturated fats. Try to depend more on polyphenols or polyunsaturated fats in your diet.
Brilliant. Dr. Gupta, you have shared amazing information about nitric oxide, about how we can do yoga and increase the nitric oxide, taking the glutathiones and the Formula 5 that you have shared with us. Thank you so much. And before you go, there's a question that has actually popped up once more, and with that question, we'll end your session. The question is ghee a healthy fat or not?
That has been a question of debate, because the ghee is actually a saturated fat. It doesn't contain because it is from the animal origin. It comes from cow's milk or buffalo's milk, so it is actually considered as a unhealthy. But as long as you are able to make sure that the ghee, you do proper exercise and make sure that you not put on weight, because then putting on weight will cause obesity, it will cause high blood pressure, and then you will actually go into the category of unhealthy person. So if you take ghee, if you like ghee, make sure that you then do double amount of exercise and try to burn it off.
Great. I hope that answers your questions on the chat box. Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for spending some time with us on Healing Our Earth. And on behalf of Healing Our Earth team, I wish you a very wonderful day and a thank you and a global namaste. And once again, thank you for sharing such valuable information with us, the audience that is global today. So thank you and have a wonderful day.